Now on our Santa Cruz, we have the 255 70 17-inch tire, so there's a little bit of protrusion past these stock fender flares, which I think it looks okay, but I think it would look even better with a flare that came out and matched the edge of the tire here. So, and I know a lot of people are going to share that sentiment with how the tires fit against the sides of the fenders. So the perfect solution here is to install the Hyundai fender flare kit. So that's what we're about to do. I ordered this flare kit from Hyundai Parts online. I think it arrived in about 7 days. Let's go ahead and open this up, see what we got. Now it looks like it comes with everything you need, with the notable exception of a set of installation instructions. I'm gonna just use my wits and experience to try to get this figured out without instructions. Now, a lot of you guys see my videos and I throw the instructions away. Well, that's just a joke. I usually do end up using them. But in this one, we actually do not have instructions. So I can tell you from my experience years ago as an accessories installer at a dealership that usually the different colored wrappings designates either driver's or passenger side. What I don't know is why we've got 4 fender flares here and then what looks like 4 more little ones right here. I'm sure it'll all make sense in the end, but for right now, I guess I'm gonna unwrap these and see if I can figure out where they go. Hopefully I can take some of the guesswork out of this installation for you, and it'll be easy for you to do at your house without having any special tools, hopefully. So here we go. So the tools you're gonna need to do this installation, I've got a razor blade here, an 8mm nut driver, Phillips and flathead screwdriver. This right here is an adhesion promoter that helps the double-sided tape stick to the car, and this is the hardware that comes with the kit. And you will need one of these. This is a riv nut tool or nutsert tool, whichever you want to call it. I got this off of Amazon. I think it was like 30 bucks. It came in a kit. Now, if it doesn't make sense to pay for one of these tools, you maybe just go ahead and get it installed somewhere professionally, but this tool is definitely necessary for installing these little riv nuts right here. All right, now to get started, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is remove this inner fender liner. And it turns out to be easier to put the new flare in with this completely out of the way. So it's pretty easy. There's basically just a bunch of these little clips. You can pop them off with a screwdriver. Just get a little container and put everything that you pull off into that little container, because you will need these when you put everything back together. So basically all you got to do is find all of these little clips. There's one up here and there's one in here, and there's little plastic retainer clips that unscrew pretty easily. Those just hold the fender liners in there and then over here. So what I did was I turned the steering wheel all the way to one side so that I could get access to the clips back here. Then when I go to the front, I'll just turn the steering wheel the other way. Now you have access to the other half of the fender liner. So there's one more clip right there, right up there, and then another one of these little clips here, right there. Okay, one there. Okay. Now this should just come right out. Missed one. All right, now that you've got the fender liner removed, you can gain access to the clips that hold this in place. There's a couple different ways to take this off. One, just yank it off. The clips that hold this in, if you just pull it off, will break, but you're not gonna be putting this back in anyway, so who cares really? But if you're trying to be thorough about it, which I'm gonna try to do here, you wanna reach in and release the clip so that it just pulls out instead of breaking off. So if you ever did, for whatever reason, want to put the stock ones back on, you would still have those clips. You'll see the clips are basically, it's just a matter of getting in there Now the bottom one, I think I'm just gonna pull, maybe not. I can't get in there. There we go. So as you can see, I'm releasing these clips with my fingers so that they literally just pull through without breaking off. I just continue on up to here. Actually, you only have to do it to right here, so I think there's only one more. The clips from here to here are different than the ones back here. This is plastic, this is metal. So this uses a slightly different attachment technique. It's these little tabs right here. You push up and then it releases. Like that. I hope you can see that. A couple more down here. Again, you're just pushing those through and letting them release. So these little clips here are the ones you want to release. And I was just using my fingertip to push that in and then pull out at the same time. These just unclip with you just pull them and they unclip. That's pretty much it for taking the old flare off. All right, the next step is actually going to be to put the fender liner back in. I know that seems kind of like something you would do last, but basically the new flares cover up these little clips a little bit more than the stock ones, and they're very difficult to get in if you put the flare on and then the fender liner. So you're just going to line up the little stud and then push this on like that. And then there's another one back there. Put that on like so. And then you can start putting these clips back in. It's just a lot easier to do this without the flare in the way. Put all these little clips back in. There's a bunch of these. All right, the next step is to install these riv nuts, and these are just going to serve as an anchor point for the new flares to screw into. Just insert them into these little holes here, and then take your riv nut tool, thread that in to the actual riv nut. Now once you have it in there, you're going to want to pull just ever so gently on these handles, enough to get it where it's tight, which is probably good enough right there, and then unscrew your riv nut tool. And there's your riv nut. I did forget to show cleaning the paint with the adhesion promoter, which you would do on all four corners. I forgot to do it on video, but basically you take one of those little foam pieces that comes in the little silver pouches and just wipe down the metal where the new flare is going to attach. So for all the double-sided tape, you're gonna wanna pull up just a little bit of an edge to get a little bit of a, what I call a tail. I use the razor blade to pull this little bit off right here. So when it's on the car, you can just pull this. But what that does is it keeps it from sticking before you're in position. Because if you put it on here, it's gonna grab wherever it touches, and it can be a real nightmare to pull it back off. So with that said, the last thing to do is to just pop this baby on. So you're gonna wanna get it roughly in position. And I started here in the front. So basically you can see where these little clips are gonna go. You just wanna line them up visually and just press them in place. Easier said than done, as always. There you go. I didn't get a very satisfying click out of those, so I hope they're right. But you can see, now all we have to do is pull this off, and then our tape will hold it in position. So from there, you're just gonna continue around the flare and just line up all the little clips and press it into place. There was a good click. There's a good click. Some of them click in really good. There you go. It just clips in. There you go. And then the bottom one just pops right in on its own. Now you've got everything in place. We can pull these plastic adhesive tails off. Just pull these right off like that. So see how now it's perfectly in position, not going anywhere. And then just do that all the way around. If it gets caught, you can kind of help it. There it goes. You don't want to leave it in there. And then just press it into place all the way around like that. And just pull like that. Press it into place. Last one down here. Just pull it. There you go. And you've got these two screws here that go in there. And that's where you use your 8mm nut driver. And you just screw those in like so. And then you've got this little trim cover that goes over those screws, and this is going to clip in at the top and hold at the bottom. There's one clip that goes in at the bottom there. So yeah, just put that in right on the bottom, right there. Done. The back is going to be a little bit simpler in the fact that you do not have to actually remove the fender liner. I did actually remove it on the other side just to see, but the way the clips go into the body here, there's actually no access on the back side. It's inside that panel. Even if we did remove the fender liner, you still couldn't release the clips. So unfortunately for this part of the installation, you just have to pull this off. Okay, so you've got one clip right here. Cue the Harley riders. Okay, so there's a clip right here that has to be removed, which you can see I've already done. One clip right there, and then there's one clip back here. Okay, and from there you're just gonna pull it off. So basically just pull, starting at the bottom, and as you can see it just pops out. Not a real big deal there. And you just continue on to the front. You pull kind of firmly, but it doesn't, there's no other way, you know, it's just is what it is. I'll show you what I mean after I get it off. So as you can see, these broke off. You just take these and turn them and they come out. But look, there's sheet metal behind that. So you can't get in from the back to release those clips. There's just no way to do that. These are like a one-time use clip. So we won't be reusing those anyway. So if you ever did want to put your factory flares back on, you'd have to buy more of these. I'm not sure why you'd ever want to do that, but just so you guys know, I was very thorough about that. You cannot get your hand on the back to release these clips, so they just break. So kind of is what it is. You know, it does make it a little bit simpler to do the install, but now we're going to move on to attaching that front, I don't know if it's a water deflector or some kind of deflector. We have to remove that from the old flare and install it onto the new one. Talking about this piece right here, so basically all you have to do is remove the screws. The kit does come with new ones of these. There's replacement screws, which I assume they think that you're going to install this in the middle of the woods somewhere and lose all the parts, because it does come with more of these screws and it does come with a bunch of extra clips. So we won't need any of those, but this here is going to be saved and this goes in the trash. Now, they pack these things very well for a reason. They scratch very easily. So don't let this hit the ground. I was actually a little bit careless on the other side and I put a tiny scratch in there. Can't really see it, it's not a big deal, but it's just a reminder that these do scratch very easily, and once they're scratched, there's nothing you can do about it. With that in mind, just, you know, be careful. I just reused the screws that were on the old flares. The kit does come with new ones, but they're exactly the same as the ones I'm taking out, so I just reused them. Maybe if your car was really old and those screws were kind of rusted or something, you would replace them with the new ones, but mine's brand new, so I just reused them. And just screw them in like so. All right, now that that's done, we're going to attach the back half of the flare to the front half, and it's basically this last little piece here. It's a little extra part. I'm gonna put a screw in from the back to hold these two sides together. Put your screw in to hold these two pieces together, just like this. There you go. And then we'll do the same thing like we did in the front. Pull this tape so that it's got a little tail, again, so that it doesn't stick in the wrong place. All right, now that we have the little tails pulled on our double stick tape backing, really nothing left but to just slap it on there. I think it's easier to start here at the back. As you can see, it just basically just clips right on. Super easy. It's supposed to clip on. It's not cooperating with me right now, but it doesn't have a choice. Kind of get the whole thing in position. It'll all fall together or fall apart, one of the two. This side is not wanting to line up properly. The clips are just not wanting to go in for some reason. I don't want to force it because I know I will just break it, but it doesn't seem to want to go together. Now this part went in no problem. As you can see, it just clipped right in. Yeah, that part just went right in, no issue. Interesting side note here. This looks like compound from a buff job. This car was brand new off the lot with 40 miles on it. This is probably something that was done at the factory to correct some sort of paint defect, which I can appreciate that they went to the trouble of buffing something inside the door jamb, but then again, they did leave their buffing compound. So judge that as you will. Oh, that was supposed to go on the other side of that. There we go. So that's how that fits in. There we go. You'll hear it clip in all the way around. Now this back part, I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm gonna have to work on this a little bit. I'm just not sure what's stopping it. I just have to push it a little bit harder. Last thing to do is to pull our tape, and be gentle, don't pull too hard, because if some of this tears off underneath, that's it. You won't be able to get it back out. One whole piece, there you go. And then just press it down to get it good and stuck down. Same thing on this one. And if you feel this start to pull tight where it seems like it's gonna tear, you wanna try to pull up and release some of that tension so that it can pull loose. So this part of the flare. See, it's starting to get really tight right there. I don't want it to tear, so I'm gonna pull up a little bit to release some pressure. There we go. And then just stick it down. That is the last piece to put in right there. We do have one more piece to put on. There's a piece that goes right here. So it does come with this little template right here, which I didn't use on the other side, but we are gonna use it on this side, and I'll demonstrate how it works just so that you can see. And you're gonna line up this with the back edge of the door, and this lines up across the bottom like so. And then this line lines up with this body line here, like that. And then this piece is gonna line up with the template there. I want it to be in just a fingernail's width so that if something dragged across it, it wouldn't rip this off. That's my logic anyway. So I'm looking at it like there's a little tiny bit of room right here. As you can see, it's just a fingernail's width of metal there. But on up to the top, you can see it should look about like that once it's installed. And it's not laying flat right now, but once the adhesive sticks, it's not gonna go anywhere. It'll be in position. It is very challenging to get this backing off of the tape. There we go. Careful, don't cut yourself. Now it's just a matter of committing, because I tell you what, it is a little bit nerve-wracking to put this piece on, because once it's on, it's on. You're not gonna be able to pull it off and move it again. Ooh, it's already starting to stick down. Be careful. So now what I've done is positioned it so that there's a little tiny bit of an edge, and it does pretty much line up perfectly with the template. So I guess I must be doing it right. So now that we've got it in position, we want to get the tape off. Okay, so this tape is not wanting to come. There it goes. You just got to be careful you don't rip it. And then the back here, pull that loose there. Come on. There it goes. And then one last piece up here. There it is. Okay, and then just press it down to get it stuck in place. Yeah, that's pretty much perfect. As you can see, there's just a tiny little bit of an edge there and then right there, and that's your finished product. So that's pretty much it for the flare installation. What a difference. Boy, that looks so much better. To see my tires don't protrude past the fenders now. which I really like. I think that looks perfect. These are like a perfect fit right here. This is a 17x8 black Rhino boxer wheel with a plus 40 offset, and the tires are 255 70 17. For those of you following along at home, that's a 31-inch tire. They do fit. They barely touch in the front. Not enough to where I'm concerned about it. Just normal driving, it's fine. You know, there's no noise or nothing like that. So that's pretty much it for the fender flare video. So if you're nervous about installing this at home, now that you've seen this video, you should be a lot more confident in doing it yourself. I would not pay to have this done. I mean, you do have to have one special tool. Not too difficult to do. I think you could save yourself some money, just do it at home. But that's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.